By early September, the Germans believe the RAF is finished. This is the green light for the invasion. September 7th. Throughout Britain, church bells ring out the warning. The German invasion is imminent. Now the Germans turn their air assault on London, believing terror will bring the British to their knees.
This is London Bridge, and on the afternoon of September the 7th, 1940, Londoners could hear the approach of 1,000 German planes. But what they didn't know is that the Germans were coming directly at the city. And you can imagine their terror when they looked up in the sky and saw these formations of German bombers coming right over the city, dropping their bombs, the explosions, the anti-aircraft fire, and the whole city was ablaze. Within a couple hours, London had more than 1,000 fires. The terror bombing of the city had begun.
In the evening, we were scrambled after a raid. On the way home, it was just about dusk. I could see the fires in London that the Luftwaffe had started on this, their first raid on London itself. I don't think I've ever been so angry, and I found myself beating my fists against the sides of the cockpit in a fury. It was a strange experience. I had not realized I could feel so deeply. At that moment, I would have butchered any German I could lay my hands on.
The terror bombing had severely damaged the city, but it had not intimidated the British. In fact, it had strengthened their resolve and their thirst for revenge. But the Germans weren't finished yet. Hitler was planning on delivering the knockout blow.
One day, we were told, this is your last day. Tomorrow, the invasion is going to occur. Well, that was not very encouraging. Holy Christmas. We've come this far, and this is where we are. And I tell you, fellas, as soon as we're off duty tonight, I'm into the bar pretty quickly. I'm going to get myself a few glasses of beer.
September 15th. The Germans launch their massive assault on London. If the British lose their last fighters trying to save the city, the way will be open for the invasion. This will be the decisive day of the battle.
We did everything to get at the enemy quickly. I'd come down from a considerable altitude above him, and I had speed on. At that time, he turned then and turned to fight, and I had a great difficulty in getting behind him again. Every time I closed up with him, he turned to fight. He climbed up into a cloud, and he thought he was going to be safe. It was just great. When I came out of the cloud, there he was in front of me. And that was his bad luck.
During the day, the Canadians shoot down 11 aircraft. In all, the Luftwaffe loses almost 60 planes. Germany has failed to gain air superiority over Great Britain. 2 days later, the planned German invasion of England is cancelled. The Canadians in the Battle of Britain shot down over 100 planes.
Well, we did really know that we were in the last ditch. If that had failed, the Battle of Britain, that had been the end of Britain. And that would have been Germany had won the war and everything else, and all over the world. Do you realize what would have happened? They'd have taken over everything. Everything. They'd have loved it.
This is Cannock Chase German War Cemetery in Britain. It contains the graves of more than 300 Germans killed during the Battle of Britain. And typical of all the main German cemeteries, the visitor is met by a sculpture. In this case, it's a shroud-draped corpse. And typical of all the German cemeteries, it's very bleak and very sober.
In the summer of 1940, the Germans lose the battle in the air. Now, as winter approaches, they shift their attack to the sea.